The first 7 days of World War III, unraveling scenarios and global impact. As a hypothetical scenario, the first 7 days of World War III would be marked by a rapid and chaotic sequence of events, with nations worldwide grappling to comprehend and respond to the unfolding crisis. It's essential to underscore that such a scenario is purely speculative, aiming to explore potential consequences rather than predict specific outcomes. Day 1: Escalation and Global Alert. The trigger event leading to World War III would likely be a major geopolitical flashpoint, such as a large-scale military conflict, a series of terrorist attacks, or a significant act of aggression by a nation. The immediate response would involve heightened global alert levels, with countries activating defense protocols and initiating emergency measures. Day 2 to 3: Military mobilization and alliances. In the early days, nations directly involved in the conflict would rapidly mobilize their military forces. Alliances and treaties would come into play as nations choose sides, aligning with those they consider allies. The United Nations and other international bodies would face immense pressure to intervene and mediate, but the speed of events might outpace diplomatic efforts. Day 4 to 5: Economic turmoil and global markets. As uncertainty grows, financial markets would likely experience significant turbulence. Investors and governments would scramble to assess the impact of the conflict on global trade, currencies, and commodities. Countries not directly involved in the conflict might implement emergency economic measures to shield themselves from the repercussions. Day 6 to 7: Cyber warfare and information battles. In a modern conflict, cyber warfare and information battles would become prominent. Nations would launch cyber attacks against each other's critical infrastructure, aiming to disrupt communication, transportation, and essential services. Meanwhile, information warfare would intensify, with propaganda, disinformation, and psychological operations shaping public perception on a global scale. Humanitarian crisis and refugee movements. Amid the chaos, a significant humanitarian crisis would unfold. Millions of people would be displaced, seeking refuge in neighboring countries or beyond. International organizations, already strained by the scale of the conflict, would struggle to provide aid and manage the growing refugee crisis. Nuclear threat and global anxiety. In the worst-case scenario, the specter of nuclear conflict could emerge. Nations possessing nuclear capabilities might be tempted to wield them as a means of deterring aggression or gaining strategic advantages. The global community would be on edge, with diplomatic efforts focusing on preventing the use of nuclear weapons. International calls for ceasefire. By the end of the first week, the devastating toll of World War III would prompt urgent calls for a ceasefire. The international community, recognizing the catastrophic consequences, would intensify diplomatic efforts to broker a cessation of hostilities. Yet, achieving peace in the midst of heightened tensions and widespread chaos would prove an immense challenge. It's crucial to emphasize that the above narrative is a speculative exploration of potential scenarios, and the actual course of events in any conflict is highly unpredictable. The consequences of World War III would be catastrophic, underscoring the paramount importance of global efforts to prevent such a scenario and promote peaceful resolutions to conflicts worldwide.